I'm here with Joe Yukica, namesake of the Yukica New Hampshire Chapter Football Foundation. Joe, welcome.
Thank you. 25 years tonight, our anniversary, and we're really happy for all the good things that have happened as a result of the 25 years, the growth of football especially, going from 30 plus schools at one time to over 50 now. And the scholar athletes, we started the first year, we had 7. In recent years, we had 28, 23 tonight. And of course, people like General Cohn, who reminded me I tried to recruit him at BC back some years ago.
He mentioned that.
He did mention that.
He said he had a deposit at BC, but then he went to the military academy and liked it after a couple weeks and stayed.
Yeah, that's right, he did.
Talk to me about the criteria of these student athletes here at the banquet tonight and what it means to qualify for this prestigious event.
Well, they're nominated by their coaches, and then we have a group headed by Jim Janot, one of our board members, Dr. George Larkin, and they analyze or look over all the information that's sent to them on each candidate. Scholarship is important, citizenship is important, athletic ability comes into play, but scholarship and citizenship are really a big part of it.
You know, I asked them, all of them, back in your high school career, one event you still remember.
You're talking to me now. You're asking me, we didn't have this.
No, regular football, as far as playing football.
Regular football. Yeah, we had football. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania. And
I think they played a little football in Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken.
We did. We had a game where it was an all-star game played in August where the Pittsburgh area schools were one, and then the surrounding schools were the other. We played each other, and it was a nice thing to be picked for. And I was fortunate enough to make that. And I caught a pass in that game, and I threw a great block downfield. And one of the Penn State coaches who was recruiting me came down and shook my hand in the locker room, and he asked me what size shoes I wore. He wanted to make sure that I knew he was thinking about me. Going to make sure my shoes fit.
That was pretty slick.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a great experience.
One of the questions I asked the coaches, and you'll probably remember this, what was the one drill that you dreaded that your football coach put you through?
We'd work hard, have a tough practice, and when it was all over, he'd gather us and say, okay, we had a quarter-mile track around the field. He'd say, all right, guys, he said, just take 4 tonight, and he smiled about it. He'd say, just take 4 tonight. So you lap 4 after you've been beat up all day, and that was his way of getting a little extra out of us. But we were fortunate we had a great high school coach, and he was a big part of my life.
How do you want to be remembered as a football player?
As a football player, I want to be remembered as part of. I was fortunate enough to go to Penn State. I think my experience there with Joe Paterno, his first year, 1950, was my sophomore year. That was important to me. I like to be remembered as someone who football has been important to. The kids that played for me. Our track record at BC of graduates was really important, and obviously at Dartmouth and at UNH. And I think that relationship that you have with people, we always wanted to make sure that any kid that we recruited that came to our school wouldn't go home before his graduation day. We wanted to make sure he got that degree. We did everything in our power to do that. So I think I'd like to be remembered as someone who cared a little bit about the people who played for us and everything they did. And the same with my assistant coaches. I'm happy for them. And today's carryover coach is Jack Bicknell, who's one of our assistants. There's 2 boys today. Jackie Bicknell is the offensive line coach of the New York Giants. Bobby Bicknell is the offensive line coach of the Buffalo Bills. Pete Carmichael Jr. Pete Carmichael was our secondary coach. His son now is the offensive coordinator of the New Orleans Saints. So, those ties are big and really important.
What were your thoughts when the whole events turned out against Joe Paterno, legendary coach of Penn State?
Well, we were all very upset for a couple of reasons. Number one, Sandusky was not on his staff from 1999, I think was the last year. That event occurred in 2002 that McQuarrie saw. McQuarrie told Joe went to the athletic director and reported it. The athletic director went to the vice president in charge of security and reported, went to the president. and there it sat. Now, the tough part of all that was that people thought as powerful as Joe was, maybe the biggest man on campus in a sense, that he should have taken a little more of a follow-up hand, which he left it to them and didn't do that, and so he resigned that day, and the trustees fired him that night, and he already said he was going to go ahead and resign at the end of the season. They only had a few more games to go. We thought they should have let him finish.
Yeah. What is college athletics doing to prevent the Sandeskis of the world from creeping back into these organizations?
Well, every once in a while you'll have something somewhere, and it happens. Ohio State got in trouble, with financial stuff, and it happens in the pro league. Look at, I just mentioned New Orleans Saints. Look what they did, with putting people out of games and giving them a payday for it. That's not right. So I think you got to have, talked about tonight, good leadership qualities, good values. Stay on top of it. You're responsible. If you're running a program, you're the coach. You're responsible to make sure that things are done the way they should be done.
One person you want to thank who was the most instrumental during your football career is?
The most important guy is the one that got me started in high school, Jim Myers, my high school football coach. I think his idea of football and how it should be taught, if we play Friday night football, it wouldn't be unusual for him to come on Saturday if he got a little nick and check on you, which he did. I got a little bump once, and Saturday he was at the house, hi to my mom and dad, how's Joe doing? Once in a while he'd call the house at 10 o'clock, we had a curfew. Mom would answer, he'd call her Liz. He said, Liz, is Joe home? And Mom said, sure, he's in bed already, Coach. So he was that kind of a guy. He did that. That relationship existed with he and his players, and I think there was a little carryover of that too for me.
Yeah. We're in a room, hundreds of people here, students, athletes, coaches. How does that make you feel? They're all attending the namesake of Joe Yukica.
Well, it makes me feel good because we're honoring those 23 kids up front. You're going to hear them speak in a minute, and they do an outstanding job of representing themselves, their schools, their families, and their coaches. And they'll talk about that at length. And they deserve to be recognized. And the National Football Foundation Hall of Fame has 122 chapters, and we're one of them. You see this going on across the country. And so we're happy that we have it here in New Hampshire so our kids can have an opportunity to enjoy this. And then the special event of the Distinguished American General Cone tonight, the head table, and obviously, the others, Jack Gaddy and Levine and Smerdulis. And so it's a nice evening when you combine the two. And everybody's here because it's important to them. They're part of it too, their families and friends.
And it was nice that General Cone shouted out to Coach McDonough and Coach Shabbat, the guys who got him going in that direction over at Memorial High School, my alma mater.
Yeah. He told me, General Cone told me before that he said when he went to West Point and they grilled him and grinded him, in terms of trying to get him ready. He said, I've been through that already back in high school. My coach had put me through that. I'm used to that. From a football perspective, I mentioned Jim Myers. Obviously, there's a number of people. Rip Bingle was a great coach to play for. Joe Paterno was a great friend of mine, and helpful.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that were tied to the football family. But Jim Myers was the one that gave me my start in high school and helped me to become a pretty decent football player, good enough to get a scholarship to Penn State.
Well, we're thankful that you chose to leave Pennsylvania and come to New Hampshire and contribute all those great years with our community, and you've done a great job. So we want to thank you for coming here. But one last question, it's a quick poll. Are you a Yankee or a Red Sox fan?
I'm a Red Sox fan. I got to say that because we watch them on a regular basis, and as the governor mentioned, we're football fans too. But Red Sox we do watch.
Joe Yukica, namesake at the Yukica Dinner 2012 here in Manchester, New Hampshire. Joe, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Enjoy it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.